Welcome back. This is lesson 2. I'm Reverend John David Duke Jr., pastor of Concordia Lutheran Church and St. John Lutheran Church in wonderful Niagara County in New York State. Just look towards the Niagara River and Lake Ontario, and you'll find me. Um, this is my lesson 2 in my continuing series. This is supplemental for my Hebrew students at Concordia Seminary in St. Catharines. However, I thought I'd make these public for anybody who thought they might pick up Andrew Bartelt's Hebrew book, grammar, and learn to read Hebrew in the Bible. So I encourage you to do so. It's a wonderful task for anybody. You can do this. Believe me, all sorts have come through in 20 years of doing this, and I don't know very many who didn't make it through learning Hebrew. They all learned. It can be done. It's just work. It's like getting a shovel out and digging a ditch. Everybody can do it. So let's get right to it. A little history lesson. This is the document screen. I'm going to reproduce this in just a minute. And what I'm going to try to do is in order so that you see it develop before your very eyes. And it'll make a little bit more sense than this thing at a glance. This will become a reference. But let's learn in the drawing screen here. A couple of things to note. We got to do a little history to help understand just what's happening. Back in the olden days, the Bible was written without vowels, and even that's has an exception to it. There are some vowels, but you don't know it. They look like consonants. Hold on to your taters, right? I'm going to do a Bowdlerized history here. Don't write any corrective emails. I got it. All right. There were these ultra traditionalists who recognized way back when, during the Hellenistic period, that the tradition of pronouncing Hebrew, biblical Hebrew, was being lost. It's just something that happens when language evolves. Okay. And these people were called the Masoretes. Let me write that down so that you can see what I'm talking about. The Masoretes. Okay? They were hardcore traditionalists, and as much as we don't like hardcore traditionalists unless we are a member of a hardcore traditionalist group, they actually did us a favor because they preserved the pronunciation of the Hebrew text, and it's very reliable. What we read isn't what the original manuscripts, how they were written, and right, it's Bowdlerized history. What was preserved, it was written without vowels. What was preserved in writing on the paper were just the consonants, right, as I said earlier. And the Masoretes, being ultra-traditionalists, would not touch the consonants. It was sacred. And so what they did was they devised competing systems of dots, squiggles, and lines to indicate how a word was to be pronounced, right? And that's what we're going to learn today. What we read isn't the biblical text, it is the Masoretic text. To be, pedantic, right? It's the Bible in Hebrew. It's the Masoretic texts. It's just, again, a school of Masoretes who prevailed with their system, mostly because it survived most completely, right? So that's what we're going to learn to read. And they're right. They're just reliably correct. 99% of the time, right? When they're incorrect, you got to make a case for it. And I think you could make the case that they messed up something called the call passive, which we'll learn in chapter 20 or something like that. It's way later. And that was part of what was the impetus for this developing this system, was that they actually realized they were losing some of the language. And they preserved it as best they could at the time, even though a little bit had already been lost, and we've rediscovered it, and etc. So let's get right down to it. Like I said, I'm going to reproduce the box. this part's easier with the mouse. I've got to put on my glasses. I can't see anything but a big blur. And there we go. Give it a little bit of a size here so that we have a nice outline. I'm going to check, make sure my face is in the right place or not in the wrong place there. Okay, good. We have 3 classes of vowels. And then over here towards this side, we're going to have 0 classes. It's just going to be 1. We'll get to that. Hold your potatoes. And then here we're going to have the subdivision of that. And we're going to have 3 of these. And starting here, this one will be divided into a third. Thirds are so hard to do without some sort of, there we go. Actually, what you should do is, that's how you do thirds. You don't have to draw 3 boxes, you draw 2 and you get a third. Yay! And we get this one here to help us with the classes. Okay, and I'm not going to label everything here. You can look to the book for the reference for that. Okay. Here we have the 3 classes. They have A, E, I, O, and U just like we do, but they are governed in 3 classes instead of 6 like ours are. The A class is here. Then is followed the EI class, and what makes this confusing for English speakers is if this is the first language you've ever learned that's not English, the A class is pronounced ah, the E class is pronounced A, and the I class is pronounced E. Yeah. It looks like a T, it's supposed to be an I. And then here is the O and U class. And you'll learn, I mentioned this in the consonants. O's, U's, V's, W's, and B's are all the same letter eventually, right? My favorite example of this, just as a as an excursion, I know you're impatient, skip ahead. This name, I believe it's a Scandinavian name of some sort. Debon. And I always ask my students, whose name is that in English? A lot of people guess David because it looks right. It's right there, David. Well, no. David is, or Debon is actually a wonderful example of the evolution of language through other languages. This is actually Stephen. And this is what I mean when you can have Stefan, Stephen, doesn't matter. You just drop the S, and you've got Tefon, and then that T is a D, and those are closely related. And then you've got Debon, P, P, B. It's just the way the things work. I think another one of my favorites in terms of evolution of a language is this one, Iago. The equivalent is James. Now, how do you get James out of Iago? I couldn't even do the etymology of it, but I do know your I's and your J's are the same. And James is the anglicized Greek Jacob, Yaakov, right? I don't know. That's just how it works. Isn't that great? Anyway, what we're going to end up doing is you're going to learn that I'm going to pretend we already know all the vowels real quick, just to give you the goal here. We're going to learn that Hebrew is written not really right to left. Well, it's written right to left, up and down. Read, I guess, is the better way to put it. It's not really written this way. It's read this way. So when you read, you come upon a word in Hebrew, you're going to read this way. Up and down, and then further, right? That's how you read Hebrew. It'll give you a headache. You will experience a headache very early on. A little bit of aspirin, or if you can't have aspirin, Tylenol will do you good. Some sleep and a cold compress on your forehead will make you feel better. And eventually you'll begin to ignore the pain. It's good for you to suffer. It builds character. What'll happen is over time is you'll see basically this, and you'll understand to come at it looking for it. There's the vowel, and forward, right? And it's just how Hebrew works. it works. So let's get right down to it. We're going to have subclasses inside your classes. And the first one that really annoys us, is what we need to learn, is this class with, I'm going to have to divide it up into three. Hang on just a second. Let me try to do something else here. Get a little thinner line here. And again, I'm going to do this 3 classes thing with 2 boxes. And I don't think I did a good job there. Let's try again. Are you having fun yet? You should enjoy this. This is really a joyful thing to have to do, to learn Hebrew. There are lots of people who would love to have the time to learn Hebrew, but can't because they've got a bunch of screaming kids or whatever have you. Okay, now I got to switch to this. So, Hebrew vowels are written in the context of a Hebrew consonant. They aren't written apart from that reality. So let's take basically your paradigm writing consonant is the Beth. And it's, don't get all exercise, just do what I say. If you know better already, you know better. Okay? So there's your Beth. And the vowel for the A is going to be called a comates. And it's a T. Comates. That's all it is, right? And I do this every time I teach. I always think to teach the mater letter last. So I've made a mistake. The history of the thing, I said there was an exception to that rule, and it is something called a mater lectionis, the mother of reading, mater letter. Mater lectionis, you'll see it in the book there. And what that is the authors actually wanted you to know that there was a vowel, and it's for a particular reason, because there is ambiguity. And sometimes the authors knew in the original text that there was ambiguity, and so they wrote it with another consonant. For the A vowel, the consonant is the he. This says to you, this is the vowel A, and you pronounce it ba. The Masoretes came along, and so that there would be no misunderstanding, put a little T there, and that's called a comates. This is a mater letter, though, and it's very important to get this right when you're studying. This is the vowel. Okay? The comates with the he is the vowel. It is not just the comates. This is not a consonant when it has a comates in front of it. And so the proper way to refer to this is a comates he. What vowel is it? The comates he. So in fact, for the sake of memorization, let me write it in the vowel color. Beautiful royal blue. Ba. Okay. So now I've corrected my mistake. This is live. The dot is in there. It's a dogish lene. I know. That's for pedantic people. Don't worry about it. Let's draw the one without the mater letter. And this is your long A. Dot. Dogish lene. This is the comates without the he. So you just say comates. It is a long vowel. Ba. Okay? Good. Now, the short vowel of the letter A is called a patach, and it is just a horizontal line written beneath the consonant like this, and it is pronounced ba. You'll have to learn your own mnemonic device to distinguish the comates from the patach. When it comes to pronunciation, you end up sounding like, well, I won't say what, but you don't say bah. That's no good. Just learn them both as ah, and understand that you're going to have to distinguish them later. It's all right. It really is. This isn't the stuff that breaks you, okay? Now, what is the mater letter for the EI class? I'm going to leave this blank for a little while. It's too much for you now. And it is the yod. And in fact, I should change the color of that to be consistent. And I got to remember to learn to use Control Z for speed. The vowel is the yod. It is now not a consonant. Now, how do you know that? Well, the Masoretes don't want to leave anything to doubt. So for the E sound, they gave you 2 dots. And those 2 dots are called a sere. Sere. You again, look it up in the book. For the I class, I know, just be patient. The I class, you have the same thing. It's a yod. And I'm running out of space on purpose. Well, by accident, but on purpose now. You have your yod, and the I class is just 1 dot. And that is a heuric. However, remember that this is the vowel. And so you say, sere yod. The mater electionis is sere yod. And the same thing here. This is the sere heuric. The heuric yod. Heuric yod. I'm not getting paid for this. And then there's a third one in here. There, look at that. There's plenty of room to draw. You can see this, can't you? It's still going to be with the bath. Oh, forgot the dogish. Oh, whew. And it's still going to be the yod. But to make things extra complicated in the EI class, they drew 3 dots. And it is, oh, that is no good. Let's try to draw it. There we go. In a triangular shape. That's called a sagol. And this would be the letter, the vowel is sagol yod. Okay, with the mater letter. Yeah, so you've got a couple of those like that, and it really is quite, I got lost, hang on. It is quite confusing at the first. It really, again, the pain subsides. I don't know that it subsides. You get used to it after a while, and you learn to read. It's like reading the Matrix, okay? It gets a little less complicated in the long vowel setting, so I'm going to draw a nice line here. In the E class of the EI class, you have your bath with your dot, and instead of a mater letter, mater electionis, you have just the sere, 2 dots horizontally aligned. The sere. Okay, he's our little friend. Of the vowels, I have to say the sere is my favorite. And in the I class, I don't think you have one. Do you? I think that's it. Yeah, that's right. So, you try it going live. No editor. And you won't make mistakes neither. Ah, we're having fun, aren't we? Sere. Okay. And then in the short vowel, oh, let's do better than that. There we go. You have just the dot, the heuric. hearic. And that is the I sound. And I'm making dumb errors here, and that's all right. You'll make plenty yourself. This one does have the hearic should be down here, and I'm going to try to draw it in the right color. All right, and the doggish linne, and then you draw your base with a doggish linne, Dave. Doggish, not a sloppy thing there. And this one is your Segol. All right? And that's pronounced, the Segol is pronounced be. It's be. And your hearic is pronounced b. Lean towards the longish sounding thing. B is all right. B is probably better. B. Good. E-T. Oops. Redo that. Now, to the OU one, and I'm going to have to cheat, make sure I get this in the right order. Your mater letter is going to function 2 ways. Not 3, not 1, but 2. 3, sir. So you get your doggish linne going, and you get your doggish linne going, and I didn't leave enough room at the top one, so I'm going to have to erase it. Delete. Move it over a little bit. And the mater letter is, for the OU class, is the wow. Right? And remember, in the book, your wow is going to look different than when you write it. You learn both alphabets, right? Bo is the O sound, and it will have a dot on the top. You know, and I should do what I said and make the vowel the color. Right? And so your vowel is a holum wow. Now this is one where I said you were reading up and down. These have all been sort of down, all of them so far. This one is an up. So you're actually coming up to find the vowel. Okay? Holum wow. Bo. And this one has its own name. It is called a shurick. It's not a holum dot or a holum doggish linne. It's a shurick. And yes, the wow can take a doggish, but let's not get exercised about that right now. Save that. Every trouble, every day has its own troubles. Don't worry about the tomorrow's troubles of a doggish and a wow. How's that even possible? Well, don't worry about it though. The long O and the long U has, just like the E, only one. And that is the holum in this nice, lovely color. Again, to repeat for emphasis' sake, you're going to go up to look for that vowel, like that. You'll get into the habit of it, and it'll go so fast that you won't even remember struggling with it, but you'll struggle. It's all right. I don't want you to think that you're not going to struggle. I want you to understand and get ready for it, right? And you have 2 here. You have your O sound and your U sound. And the O sound is going to be that, a T. Oh, yeah, right. You have a problem, don't you? We have 3 of those. I'm sorry. What it does is it shows a relationship of the A and the O sounds. This might be pronounced ah, like a long A. Ba. It's best not to pronounce it as an A. It's best to pronounce it as an O. Bo. Learn this O as an O sound. It won't make any difference until, say, chapter 21, but then it'll make a big difference. It comes a little faster than that. You really, really, really need to learn that as an O sound for mnemonic device. Mnemonic device. Right? You need to know that that is an O. Please do. And that is called a Kametz Chatuf. Short A. Kametz Chatuf. And now the U sound, one of the funnest sounding ones, is 3 dots arranged diagonally. That is a kibbutz. Kibbutz. It's an U sound. Maybe it could be an sound, but it's not, because your sound is a schwa, which is coming up next. Now, in order for this to make sense, you have to understand what a schwa is. A schwa is a half syllable. And there's a big debate about whether or not you count a half syllable or you don't count a half syllable. Don't worry about that debate until you're writing a graduate level paper. What you do need to know is that there is such a thing called a schwa. And I'll write it down. A lot of new students, including myself, when I saw this word for the first time, I pronounced it shiwa. It's not shiwa, it's schwa. And it really is a great example of what a schwa is. That E is a schwa. It's a half syllable. It's schwa. Schwa. See? It's that sound. It's the sound in English that all the letters can be pronounced as a schwa. We just don't recognize it when we're speaking. And we'll go over that more later. And it is written... if I can find the brush, there we go. And this is for all classes. Notice there's no division. That's the size of the base. As 2 dots arranged vertically. In the vowel color. Okay. And there are all sorts of rules governing a schwa. There's a whole special set of rules that you have to memorize. Pass a quiz. In order to understand the schwa and what it's doing. So there's your schwa, there's your dagesh lene, the dot and the base, right? With gutturals, there is a special kind of schwa, because gutturals, and you remember gutturals, right? I made you memorize it. Resh, Aleph, Ayin, Hey, and Chet. They don't take schwas, except under special circumstances. They don't take schwas. What they take is a composite schwa. So we use the aleph for a way to exemplify what that means, and you use a patach with a schwa next to it. And that is called a hatef patach. Try to get the dots on the right side. When I first was learning, I was like a toddler, and I can't believe I did that. You didn't see that. When I first learned to write it, I would always write it like that, and that's not right. It's on the right hand side, not on the left hand side. The schwa for the EI class is a sagol with a schwa next to it. And let's just erase all those and make them blue. My hand is quivering. There we go. A Sagol with 2 dots next to it. That's 5 dots. Hatef Sagol. Sagol Hatef? Hatef Sagol. Okay. And look, try to learn the names of these. It's not the end of the world if you can't remember them. It's just helpful for reference sake, right? If we're so that we all know what we're talking about. What letter are you looking at there? The 5 dots. What is that? This Hatef Sagol. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Gotta make an adjustment. There we go. And the one for the OU class is unfortunately the Kametz Chatuf with the Sagol, or it's the Schwa, and that is a Hatef Kametz Chatuf. And it is an O sound. Okay? In the book, it's called a Hatef Kametz. That's correct. It's a Hatef Kametz. You might want to learn it as a Hatef Kametz Chatuf in order for you to understand that it's in the OU class. Okay. Well, I've done this, like I said, since 1999, I've been teaching Hebrew. Sometimes more than once a year. And you saw me bumble through it. Part of it was distraction and ill preparation. However, don't take it as comfort. You'll bumble through it, but it's all right. You'll get through it. This is a chart. You need to memorize the chart in order to get a measure of competency, but it'll come home as you're reading. You know, that's the immersion part of it. It's inductive, but eventually there is deduction going on here. You'll learn how to read this, and it'll be fine. You'll see these letters, and you'll go, "Oh yeah, that's right. That's a long A. That's a mater letter. That's that silly Chatef Kametz Chatuf, that the half syllable of an O." And you'll love it. It's such a wonderful language to learn and fall in love with. And then you'll be reading Psalms, and you won't believe what you see in the Psalms, and you'll want to tell everybody about what you see in the Psalms, right? So, if you have any questions, leave a comment, or if you're one of my students, you know how to get a hold of me. And until the next time, I'm Reverend John David Duke Jr. Your wandering, easily distracted Hebrew instructor. We'll see you.